I guess it's done then. I guess the naval blockade is open too. Anyway, let's take a look at the top 8 Trump GOP voter groups that are still holding strong by Harry Emden. Holy Toledo!
That are still holding strong for Trump's GOP, and we're going to do so using
we
pure
did it.
data,
Mission
baby.
accomplished.
And at the end, we're going to have a little bit of bonus for you. But without further ado, let's start off with group number 8. We are talking about white evangelicals. Of course, they are a very important part of the GOP coalition. And take a look at their choice for the election back in October of 2024 when it was Harris versus Trump. Trump was getting 71% of their vote, according to a Fox News poll back in October of 2024. And look at where we are now. We're talking about the 2026 race for Congress. Republicans getting a very similar share. We're talking about 69% of the vote among white evangelicals. So very similar to what we saw back in 2024. But it doesn't just end there, baby. What we're talking about as well, when we're talking about the core GOP groups, how about those who self-identify as Republicans, baby? Look at this. I mean, this is support. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about 92%. That is the share of the vote that House Republicans are getting right now among GOP voters. That's basically the same, baby. That's basically the same as Trump was getting back in October of 2024 when he was getting 94%. This is well within the margin of error. The bottom line is this: for all that talk about Republicans abandoning Trump and abandoning the GOP, it simply put does not hold when you match up the GOP's running for the House against the Democrats running for the House of Representatives. Now, another group that I just think is so interesting, because this is a group that is actually going Democratic. But what we saw was Democrats did very poorly, at least historically speaking, among black voters back in 2024. Kamala Harris was leading amongst them in October of 2024 by 59 points. And guess what? Although Democrats are winning them, but it's only by a slightly wider margin, 62 points compared to Kamala Harris back in October of 2024. So what we're essentially seeing is Democrats did historically poorly, for the worst in a generation among black voters back in 2024, and it does not seem like they're recovering all that much ground. So this is the 6th group that we're looking at. What about group number 5? I feel like Casey, and coming in at number 5, what are we talking about? How about white women? This is a very key group. This is a swing vote. And take a look at the choice for the election among white women. In October of 2024, Trump was getting 51% of that vote. Look at this. White women basically are staying the same. There hasn't been much of a shift at this point in terms of the vote for Congress. Look at this. House Republicans getting 49% of that vote.
This is also part of the reason why I kept saying, like, Democrats shouldn't feel super confident. If you recall, in the last couple of months, I've talked about how Democrats are behaving like, well, Trump is really unpopular, and obviously we're the opposition party. People have no choice but to vote as a protest vote against the current administration, and therefore will secure easy victories, right? But the reality is, if you look at the actual approval ratings of the National Democratic Party and the National Republican Party, like, that hasn't really shifted all that much. People don't like Donald Trump, but they single out Donald Trump as this unreasonable actor, but they don't see the rest of the Republican Party as loyal servants of Donald Trump, ironically enough, even though that is the case, right? And I think a part of the reason why is because the Democrats have not been as active as they should have been for the last 2 years. Trump has been engaging in increasingly more maddening endeavors, molesting the money, both with his tariffs regime, destroying the federal regulatory agencies, engaging in graft, rank corruption in broad daylight. Many members of his administration have done so. Democrats, with the exception of John Ossoff and maybe a couple others, are not even communicating how indecent and how ridiculous this stuff is. At most, the biggest battle that they waged against Donald Trump was U.S. aid cuts. And sure, U.S. aid cuts have been unbelievably devastating for all of these other underserved communities, underserved countries, nations in the periphery that were relying on, medical aid that we were offering by way of U.S. aid. Okay, U.S. aid also has its downsides. I've talked about it endlessly. I'm not going to get into that, but the fact that the biggest battle that the Democrats in unison engaged with the Trump administration was U.S. aid cuts is unfucking believable. folding on the government shutdown. Again, unbelievable. RIP USAID, you did so much for the CIA. Sure. I mean, that's true, right? But there's also a lot of harm that comes from shutting off the money faucet to all of the humanitarian aid that USAID offered many countries in the African continent, in the global South in general. But the reason why I say the Democratic Party's focus on USAID cuts was silly is because like most Americans don't care. It's not even like a salient policy disagreement. If you were to ask most Americans, like, do you think we should be spending billions of dollars on foreign aid? They would say, fuck no, spend it on ourselves. I personally don't have an issue with it. Okay, I personally don't have an issue with it, especially if it's good, if it's necessary, if it's worthwhile, even if it still ends up working at the behest of American empire. Right? This guy is so fake. Lamau says, Gobi loves Femdom. Cringe LARPer. Okay. Looks like Mario. Ha ha ha. What? Are you writing in the right chat? What the fuck? I don't even know if I should read that. Is he saying I'm swarthy? Swarthoid? You look like a homo. You keep talking like that, I'm going to be responsible for your father's first gay awakening. Okay?
Again, this is well within the margin of error. Very little movement. When you can count on one hand, you know it's little movement. 1, 2, maybe the slightest bit towards the Dems, but Republicans still very much in the game with white women who, of course, are such an important part of the electorate. So this is group number 5. What about group number 4? All right? How about voters making above $50,000 income? This is a very important group in the electorate. This is the majority of voters in the electorate. Take a look here. You thought 2 points was a lot of movement? How about 1 point in terms of movement? Back in October of 2024, Donald Trump was getting 51% of the vote. Today, look at this. House Republicans, basically the same. Basically the same. We're talking about 50%. And of course, income and class has become such a big dividing line in our politics these days. And when you see Republicans holding strong with this,
I think the Dems will do better because the CNN poll is saying people who don't like both parties will vote against whoever is in charge. Yeah. No, for sure. The double haters. The double haters who don't like the Democrats, who don't like the Republicans, are still going to swing in the direction of the not. It's swing in the direction of the opposition party, the direction of the party that's not Donald Trump, right? And that's what the Democrats are relying on to eke out marginal victories all around the country, which I think is unbelievably stupid, unbelievably short-sighted. There's a real opportunity here to make significant changes. And that's why I'm working as hard as I am to try to make that necessary change within the makeup of the party and by force make the National Democratic Party more responsive. Chatter tagged you in a pre-election bulwark take that is laughably insane. They learned nothing and will continue to turn Dems into Romney 2012.
This is one of our colleagues made this point to me yesterday, that it's kind of extraordinary that the Harris campaign is basically closing with the bulwark. Like it's the closing messages are basically targeted for the kind of people who read and like the bulwark. Very centrist, very moderate.
I like that they're at least honest. This is right before the election, though, so they probably thought that this was going to secure a W, which is why they were very confident and did not shy away from saying that, like, Kamala is listening to us, right? I was on the other side going, Kamala is listening to them. She shouldn't. And we now know which side was correct, right? This is precisely what I mean when I say, if you want to defeat fascism in this country, if you see the growth of fascism in this country on the Republican Party side, okay, you have to do more than just like lean into some of the fascist notions. You definitely shouldn't lean into any of the fascist notions from a moral standard anyway. But there is no electoral purpose for it regardless. We've seen it time and time again.
Like really...
These guys have no emotion. Why do you watch them? Oh my God. Buddy, I need you to understand something. They have unbelievable motion within the power centers, okay? That's it. That's my argument. My argument is that these guys have tremendous sway amongst the consultant class. They have so much sway that Kamala Harris basically redesigned her entire campaign off of their demands. It's not about real people watching the Bulwark. It's not about real people reading the Bulwark. It's not about those numbers. If that was the case, then I would have the most motion out of most media. Out of most media outlets, I would have maximum motion, right? I don't think Jake Tapper is capable of convincing hundreds of under 35ers to go out and door knock for a specific candidate. That's not going to happen, right? That's kind of the problem here, that mainstream media and even sometimes independent media comprised entirely of former mainstream institutionalists are not responsive to the needs and the demands of the public. And they are the ones that they are the people that the party consultants and individuals within the party system are paying close attention to. So in that regard, they have unbelievable motion. You're hearing them talk about it right now. They're like, wow, Kamala Harris listened to every single thing that we demanded of her.
Good stuff in that way. And that's kind of extraordinary and gratifying, which is nice, I think, for us, but also makes me a little nervous because, like, if it doesn't work, does that mean it's on us?
No, I mean, the reason that they're
no
doing it the way...
Yeah, heads I win, tails you lose. No, of course not. Yes, Kamala Harris has listened to every single thing that we have said, as we are admitting, and we are celebrating because we think she's going to win. But if she loses, it's not on us either. It's because she was a woke libtard.
that they're doing it is because the data shows that that's what they should be doing, right? Like, they're looking...
Yeah. No, the data wasn't showing that, by the way. The data wasn't showing that. That's why she lost. What's actually crazy here, by the way, is that there was no, like, reflection that this failure only reconfirmed their priors, right? They got everything that they wanted, and then they said, well, no, the data is showing that, and that's why we arrived at these conclusions. We didn't arrive at these conclusions because of some ideological zealotry. We arrived at these conclusions because we poured through the data. Well, I guess I must have been looking at some other data, and it turns out the data I was looking at was right, and the data you were looking at was wrong. So, did you maybe take a deep breath, take a couple steps back and say, hey, how do we get this so wrong? Or did you continue advancing the same agenda that the Democrats need to be more moderate? The Democrats need to consistently pivot to the center as the Republican Party has gone further and further right, creating this ratchet effect where the center is slammed to the right, if not the far right at this point.
At their own data that is saying, hey, about half of what's available and left are these center-right voters that we've...
That's not true. That was never true.
...got to convince and get over the line. It just so happens it is our cohort of people, but, like, they're not listening to us to make that decision. They made that decision because their data shows that it's the right thing to do.
So, yeah, they said that. Apparently, here's the next part of the conversation where Bulwark ponders about how it would be possible for Harris to lose Michigan. Part 3, the conversation between Bulwark's personalities about Harris using Eminem and insane clown policy as surrogates that attract young men in Michigan. Conversation continues about Eminem as a campaign surrogate on the Harris campaign and effectiveness of Trump's McDonald's stunt. Miller on being late at James Carville's birthday. Okay, whatever. This is like before the election. They're having a conversation about like the impact that they've had on the campaign and how wonderful it's been. I will at least readily admit Tim Miller, on the other hand, is a little bit more responsive. Okay? Tim Miller, on the other hand, is at least like a demon of the internet. So he sees the way the winds are blowing. Okay? So I guess he went on this podcast with Hutch, Pisco, the soy pill, who I don't think I've ever seen until this day. I've only seen like the drawn image of him, and this is like a liberal back and forth, right? This is like the prime liberal fuck Hasan headquarters. Pisco is not a fuck Hasan guy. I think soy pill might be. I don't know, but as you guys know, Hutch has famously said. He would rather vote for Jeffrey Epstein instead of me.
Yeah, so we've had a ton of discourse in our spaces in recent.
So this is new. This is Tim Miller thinking about like the fuck Hasan discourse and what that has created recently, I assume.
Kind of weeks. Some of it has related to Hasan, but it's more been about like a bigger conversation about the future of the Democratic Party. You're obviously like a Republican defector, and so I'm curious to know what you think should be the playbook for Democrats in the short term to sort of maximize electoral wins, and also like what you personally want to see, and do those things overlap?
Yeah, can I just say on just Hasan briefly? When I engaged in that discourse very early, which in retrospect was maybe a mistake, because who the hell did I know that it's all everybody want to talk about for weeks? But one of the points I made when I first engaged with it is that like the establishment Republicans, or excuse me, the establishment Democrats, I talk about a Freudian slip, the establishment Democrats who were going after him were like stepping on a big rake. Like this was a massive cell phone that like putting out a memo that's like people shouldn't talk to Hasan is going to absolutely backfire on them. And the base, or like the active kind of Democratic voter does not want that. And there's some category of people that do, but if anything, it will end up empowering him more to like as an anti-establishment figure who's fighting them, because that's what people are looking for right now. Look at Graham Plattner and Janet Mills, and that's exactly what's happened. And it was really dumb of the third way to do it, just as a strategic matter.
Yeah, it was, and that's precisely the reason why I welcomed it. I said they're united in their hatred of me, and I welcome their hatred. FDR. Tim Miller at least understood that. He also understood that one of the key problems with the National Democratic Party that led to their demise against the incompetent, tyrannical fascist Donald Trump the second time around was their inability to address the popular sentiment that was growing at the time, that was the just sentiment, that was the moral sentiment, that was the moral center of the party, or at least the base of support within the party, and now the entire nation, which was Israel, okay? Holding Israel accountable, stopping Israel's genocide. The refusal to recognize that was what led to their refusal to recognize is what led to their demise, what led to the electoral defeat. Now, Tim has also recognized that I have credibility in this space. I never shied away from offering my perspective. I got endlessly yelled at for it, in many instances by, people that are either on this panel or people that, agree with people on this panel, right? But the reality was I was correct. And therefore now I have that legitimacy in this space because I've been an advocate in this space for many, many years. Those very same Democrats do not have that legitimacy. They do not have that credibility in this space. So for them to consistently attack me, for them to consistently turn around and attack me and say, oh, Hasan is wrong, and you shouldn't listen to him, he's a dangerous radical. Most people don't look at that and go, okay, I guess Hasan is wrong. We're going to move on. We're going to find a different anti-Israel voice. Most people look at that and go, oh, here they go again, being fucking pro-Israel. And in many respects, that is the case. Israel first is the determining reason for why they consider me They consider me to be a dangerous radical. Okay? Like the Sarah Longwells of the world or all these other people that have written endless articles are worried about the Democratic Party having to take a close look at what the people are demanding, what the base is demanding, what the role I play in being a megaphone for this base. Okay? So it doesn't work.
My thinking, and I feel like I have good credibility on this because like what I'm about to suggest the Democrats do goes against like what my personal political preference would be. You know, if I could wave a magic wand to make somebody president, I would want like Jared Polis or somebody like that who has no.
Oh, Jared Polis. God damn, you have a magic wand. You're going to put Jared Polis in there? Jesus Christ.
Viability as a national figure. But I think that the Democrats need to put forth a candidate.
He said, I want a Redditor president. God damn.
I guess we're doing this in the 2028 context, but even in statewide candidates and federal level, who has some distance from the Clinton, Biden, Harris triumvirate. And like they need some distance from them, and it needs to be like comprehensible and understandable to people, to dum-dums, like what the difference is. And I think probably it is a little bit more economic populism. What that exactly looks like, I think, is up to the person, but mostly it is that they need to offer a critique of the Democratic Party establishment for being too cozy with corporate interests and saying that they're going to fight it at some level. Some of those proposals will be very stupid, but like there's some that are good, and I think that the framing is more important than the actual policy.
I like that. Tim has finally arrived at just fake it. Tim has arrived at just fake being a populist, please. Like, just lie and say you're going to do this because it's very clear that that's what the public wants. It's very clear where the public appetite is right now. And it's true, and they definitely see it. And I will use as a jump-off point to talk about Liz Smith, who is working with the Mallory McMorrow campaign against Abdul El-Sayed, what she's been doing. The establishment of the Democratic Party is so unbelievably unpopular that Mallory McMorrow privately went to Chuck Schumer and had a closed-door meeting. We don't know what that conversation looked like, but Mallory McMorrow has been openly saying Chuck Schumer has to go. He has to be replaced. And yet Chuck Schumer, recognizing that Haley Stevens, the other AIPAC stooge in this race, has no real viability and no real popularity, has quietly lent support to Mallory McMorrow. And that's part of the reason why I think you're seeing a lot more Democratic senators and the DSCC, the funding arm of the Democratic Senate, work alongside Mallory McMorrow now, while Mallory McMorrow and Liz Smith, by the media demon behind Mallory McMorrow's campaign, basically lie about Abdul El-Sayed's position. I don't know why they're doing a full court press on this, because as I said here, this is the funniest thing to lie about. But Liz Smith says, breaking political reports that neither Haley for Michigan, Haley Stevens, nor Abdul El-Sayed will join Mallory McMorrow in opposing Schumer for leader. Even more progressive candidates like El-Sayed are struggling with how to answer the Schumer question. Last April, as McMorrow insisted Democrats should pick a leader besides Schumer, El-Sayed said, anybody who tells you that they're going to unilaterally oppose one potential candidate without knowing who the alternative is either unnuanced or unsophisticated. So I want to know who is available, who's actively seeking the leadership. I'll make a decision from there. In recent days, El-Sayed has floated Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland as a potential leader. So has El-Sayed's thinking evolved since last year, or does he stand by saying Schumer doesn't necessarily need to go? A spokesperson wouldn't quite say. Abdul deeply believes that Washington should let Michigan voters decide on this primary rather than putting their thumb on the scale. It's not about who opposes Schumer. It's about who Schumer opposes. Now, the reason why they said that is because Chuck Schumer opposes Abdul El-Sayed. El-Sayed has also said he wants Van Hollen. He wants Chuck Schumer replaced with Van Hollen. So he has already made his position be very well known. Chuck Schumer, on the other hand, has lent a lot of support to Haley Stevens in the beginning, and then has said he would be comfortable, quietly though, because he recognized how unpopular he is, quietly has revealed this was also reported in Politico, that he'd be fine with Mallory McMorrow as well. So it's really interesting that these guys also are now, these guys that have always been servants of the establishment. Liz Smith is former Cuomo and Pete Buttigieg ally, is now aligned with Mallory McMorrow in this race. Is working. I don't know if they're publicly working, but it's very clearly she is an ally to Mallory McMorrow in this race. Also recognize how unpopular Chuck Schumer is, and they're trying to present themselves as anti-establishment. But I think this will backfire once again, because McMorrow is trying to be the Goldilocks candidate, right? The one that's more moderate, but also has some progressive bona fides, whatever. Okay? But that shows inconsistency. And perhaps that's the honest assessment to make here regardless, right? It is inconsistent. You come across like an empty suit when you do this. When you present yourself and your positions as both being anti-establishment but also for establishment politics, voters don't know what to make of you. Do you have an ideal candidate for 2028? I don't know. I hate that question. It's too far out. Yeah. She is working behind the scenes with Majority Democrats, a group that is also attacking Abdul today. Majority Democrats who are, working with Elisa Slotkin and other centrist Democrats as well. But what's really funny about it is that, again, these guys are a part of the establishment wing of the party. Okay? And yet, they are trying to present themselves as being against Chuck Schumer. That is a recognition that the establishment has lost the battle so much that they have to face their own unpopularity and present their pro-establishment candidates as being against the establishment. Yeah, look, and Umich Voter is another one of these guys who's not even from Michigan, apparently, but loves Michigan. He fucking votes in New Jersey, but he sure spends a good deal of time talking about Michigan, specifically a McMorrow ally. Mason Press says, this notion that Abdul was ever less adversarial to Schumer than McMorrow is insane. Look, Shannon Watts, hey, Chuck Schumer, it's your time to shine, sort this race out. The party and country can't afford to lose the Senate seat. This is when Schumer quietly signaled that he would be okay with State Senator Mallory McMorrow in the U.S. Senate over establishment favorite Haley Stevens. McMorrow is one of the several Democrats running across the country. The notion that Abdul was ever less adversarial to Schumer than McMorrow is insane. She's Schumer's number 2 pick, and that has been public for a while, much like Abdul's disapproval of Schumer. He didn't answer the question. Mr. Litmus Test can't answer the question. I don't know why they're trying to hit this line. It's just like a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting lie to tell. Who can you convince with this? The anti-Schumer voters are going to go for Abdul anyway because he's presenting himself as a disruptor. He's presenting himself as an insurgent candidate that is a left flank candidate. Mallory McMorrow, on the other hand, is doing the Elizabeth Warren pick of being like a spoiler to said disruptor candidacy. I guess the reason why they came out with this full court press today, though, is because of the Plattner victory. The Plattner victory over Janet Mills completely solidified the appetite that the Democratic Party's base has for anti-establishment candidates, for Bernie-crats, for left flank candidates in particular. Okay? Noah Colwyn says, the McMorrow campaign is so stretched to find things that differentiate their cookie-cutter candidate, then the new line is this. Just lie. Even though El Sayed already suggested a Schumer replacement. Isn't it easier to sow ambiguity when there isn't any? Flagrantly silly accusations of anti-Semitism. This jockeying to appear more anti-Schumer than the guy Schumer most wants to run out of Dodge. It's like they're making the entire McMorrow campaign out of that humiliating last gasp of the Warren 2020 anti-Bernie turn. Lying Liz, says Noah Colwyn. Remember when Liz Smith got every Ivy-educated political journalist in the country to believe that Pete Buttigieg really spoke a dozen languages? Getting people to only look at the surface of the things so as to ignore any substance underneath is how Liz makes her bag. And by the way, Liz Smith does have tremendous influence over media. I will readily admit that. As a matter of fact, I think part of the reason why Zoran didn't get ass blasted as hard is because Liz Smith kind of liked Zoran, or at least liked Morris Katz, and I think they still like one another. Okay, this is a little bit inside baseball for you guys. Morris Katz is the young 26-year-old fight agency guy that a lot of people say was fairly important in the Zoran victory. He works with Graham Plattner. He works with Tom Steyer as well. And now they're working with the Green Party in the UK too. Now, they're not ideologically minded. I'll admit that. There's some great people that work there. At the end of the day, it's an ad agency, right? They do great consultant work. But all of that aside, all of that stuff aside, Liz Smith is a key figure in especially the New York media circle. It's a very incestuous relationship that they have over there. They're very the personal relationships that you have with members of the media, especially like key figures, editors, and whatnot, is very significant in the kind of coverage that you get. And I think that's part of the reason why I suspect Abdul never really got the shine that he deserved in the beginning of the candidacy. And then they made a big mistake by attacking me as a vector to attack Abdul in a not so subtle Islamophobic campaign where they tried to terror jacket myself and Abdul El Sayed, which then backfired because then that led to a lot of coverage on Abdul El Sayed. Which led people to engage his campaign, try to figure out what his positions are, and they liked what they heard. So I think this will have a similar impact as well. It will lead people into questioning why McMorrow is trying to present herself as this anti-establishment candidate and position herself as different than Abdul El Sayed when he is the true anti-establishment pick. This is a race where people are looking for an anti-establishment candidate. Okay? If McMorrow's your lady, then it should just trouble you that this is her political judgment, pivoting to lying. Liz Smith is lying on Abdul's name like he's a Cuomo victim, says Mason Pressler. Yeah. This also, once again, is a big mistake from the McMorrow campaign. I'm not trying to give them advice here. Okay? But the reason why people like these insurgent candidacies is not necessarily because of who they're against. They're against the Republicans. Everybody knows that. They're against the Democrats, the establishment Democrats. People know that. But they're also for something, okay? They ride for certain policies. They defend certain positions in an uncompromising manner. And that's what's also important. Saying that you will hold Israel accountable, saying that you will force an arms embargo, saying that you want to punish the administration for its corruption. These are things that people want to hear, okay? And if you can communicate that earnestly, then you're going to win these races. Anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump's abysmal approval ratings, even though there are some in his base that are still holding strong.
Group. Those making above $50,000 in income, and they, of course, make up the vast majority of voters. This is why Republicans are still very much in the game when it comes to the congressional elections come 2026. Now, this is group number 5. What about group number 4? Well, when we're talking about the majority of voters, you know, for all of the talk, oftentimes we break it down. We look at black voters, we look at Hispanic voters, but white voters still make up the clear majority of voters in the electorate. And what we see here is Republicans are winning among white voters. They're winning among white voters. They're winning by 11 points when it comes to the 2026 race for Congress. Now, Trump won them by 15, or was leading amongst them by 15 back in 2024, but 11, 15.
Yeah, the few people holding strong are my boss and my father-in-law, says one of the chatters. Is funny.
This is the type of movement that is really sort of emblematic of what we're seeing. Maybe Democrats doing slightly better, but overall Republicans are more than holding their own when it comes to a group that makes up the clear majority of voters. Okay, this is group number 3. Well, let's enter into group number 2. Group number 2, this is so important. What about age? What about age? Older voters. You know, all the time we talk, oh, the youth. Ooh, la, 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 la. We all care about what's new and fresh. But what's been there for a while is a stable voting bloc. Older voters are what ultimately, or almost ultimately, always determine elections. So take a look at those among age 45 and older. In November of 2024, what do we see? We saw Trump winning that vote by 6 points. Look at where we are now. Republicans are still winning this huge chunk of voters. And of course, in midterm elections, older voters actually make up an even larger percentage of the electorate than they do in presidential elections. And what we see here is Republicans ahead by 3 points.
Yeah, here's some new Pew Research on Trump's approval ratings. His approval is at 34%. It's minus 30. His disapproval is at 64%. This is Trump's lowest second-term approval. Among whites, across the board, he's minus 13. Among black voters, he is at 12% approval, 85% disapproval. This is why I also always laugh whenever people are like, well, you know, he's holding strong on the black voting base. Like, his approvals or his support amongst black voters that voted for him already has remained resilient. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, that's such a strange way to look at the data. Among ages 18 to 29, he's at 24% approval, 75 disapproval at minus 51. Ages 30 to 49, he's at 30 approval, 68 disapproval, minus 38. And then once you go 50 up, he goes to minus 14. Among males, 38% approval, 60% disapproval. Among females, 31% approval, 67% disapproval. For those who have a high school graduate's degree or less than that, he's at minus 22% disapproval rating. For those with a college graduation, with a college degree, he's at minus 38% disapproval. For postgrads, it shoots up to minus 51% disapproval. For those who are Dem or leaning Dem, it's at minus 89% disapproval. And for those GOP or leaning GOP, it's at plus 37. The only group that he's not underwater in is those who are either GOP or lean GOP. And even then, it's at plus 37. It's fucking over. Okay? It's been over. It's never been more Jover than it is right now. Having said that, it's not totally dead. And the only reason why it's not totally dead is because I think the Democrats are not convincing enough. This is good for winning a marginal victory over the Trump administration, right? But even then, we should be demanding more. This is an opportunity to demand more. Demand more from our politicians. Force their hand into taking certain policy positions that will be prescriptive and helpful to all of the economic struggles that people are experiencing currently. This is not only good policy, but it's also good politics. This will also yield a higher approval rating for the National Democratic Party in general. Wrong, like Harry just showed, Congress still has a net positive with ours, and they won't stop him. Yeah. I'm explaining to you why that's the case. This is the point. The reason why the National Republican Party is seen as, they're obviously still intensely disliked, but has more support than the National Democratic Party is for this reason. Because at least there's a cult on the right that's still both supporting Trump and is willing to support the Republican Party in general. Whereas the Democrats are leaning into the anti-Trump vote. That's the issue. That's my point. That's precisely what I'm saying. If you just expect the double haters to go your way and you don't put out a convincing message to win large swaths of the population that will go out and vote for something rather than against Trump, you don't have a real movement. And you don't have a guarantee for victory anyway. In some ways, this has worked out, by the way. I will say this. Because of the overwhelming unpopularity of the Democratic Party and their weakness so far, it's good that the Chuck Schumers of the world are not leaning in the direction of like Graham Plattner or Abdul al-Sayed. It's not a bad thing necessarily because they're so deeply unpopular that it's kind of good that we could set up these insurgencies. The issue, on the other hand, however, is that the media ecosystem and a lot of these establishment Democrats within the party's center of control do still put up a lot of money and a lot of opposition research in the direction of these insurgencies. And that's very frustrating because it still does actually harm the candidacies in general. It still ends up having an impact, a negative impact on these candidacies. The best possible scenario here would be for these guys to just like say they don't want Abdul al-Sayed and then fuck off from the race and don't spend a good deal of money attacking him. But right now they're saying they don't want Abdul al-Sayed while simultaneously also spending a good deal of money and resources in attacking him. I have so much to say, but I don't want you to think I'm Amera posting. I don't know what you mean by that.
Again, this is well within any margin of error. Republicans holding strong, holding their own amongst a group of voters that will make up the clear majority of voters come November. But without further ado, we've counted down 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and coming in at number 1, what about seniors? Choice among seniors. Look at this. In October of 2024, Donald Trump was getting 49% of the senior vote. That is age 65 and older. What are we talking about now? Well, we're talking about, get this. You thought 1 point was a lot of movement. You thought 2 points was a lot of movement. Of course, I'm just kidding. It's very little movement. 0 points. That's no movement at all, baby. That's no movement at all. What we're seeing right here is House Republicans holding their own amongst a very key group in the electorate who, of course, will make up an even larger share come this November than they did 2 Novembers ago back in 2024. Now, this is my countdown from 8 to 1. But what about the bonus? I was promised you a bonus. We're going to talk bonus, baby.
Yeah. Public is roughly divided on making a deal with Iran if it's worse for the U.S. At this time, do you think the U.S. should make a deal with Iran even if the results is a worse deal for the U.S., push Iran for a better deal even if it means resuming U.S. military action against Iran? Skip question, 7%. So the plurality is with make a peace deal with Iran even if it results in a worse deal for the U.S. That is spectacular, in my opinion, because Americans find themselves to be exceptional, right? I'll get back to the bonus in a second. 61% of Americans say the war with Iran was a mistake, and 48% of Americans say, let's just take the L here, okay? Let's cut our losses and run. That is remarkable. This means that there are at least like enough Americans who are fine with American empire diminishing around the globe in terms of his power, in terms of his force projection capabilities, in terms of like constantly waging war. They just think about the impact, and the impact is negative. They recognize that the impact is negative, And it's taken a very short period of time for them to come to the conclusion that, this kind of stuff is not working for them. This empire's design is not benefiting them at all. It's not beneficial. Mark Ames says what stands out in this WAPO poll is that even though 61% say Trump's war on Iran is a mistake, 46% support Trump resuming the mistaken war to get a better deal. So a big chunk of Americans who think the war is a mistake support repeating the mistake that's already failed. Yeah, they're stupid. Matthew Petty says, frankly, I'm surprised there's even a plurality for taking the L. A few years ago, it would have been 80-20 to nuke anyone who embarrasses us. And I agree. I'm on Matt Petty's side on this. Okay? I'm not surprised that there is still almost a 50-50 split. There's a majority that recognizes that it was a mistake to wage war with Iran, but still almost a 50-50 split on continuing to repeat this mistake versus pulling out, even if it means an unambiguous defeat. I'm surprised that there's a plurality that's in favor of eating that defeat. Okay? Americans are unbelievably propagandized, especially when it comes to foreign policy, because foreign policy is bipartisan. Foreign policy has always been bipartisan. So the very fact that this bipartisan enterprise that normally gets unanimous consent from the public, because it's one of the most propagandized positions that Americans believe is that we're the world police. Sure, we do some stuff that's violent ultimately, okay? But although some of those actions are violent, it's oftentimes against enemies that deserve it. And it's for a larger good, for an overall greater good. Those people are now coming to the conclusion that no, we need to cut our losses. We need to cut our losses and run. That's unbelievable. That means that just like with the case of Israel, regardless of whatever the mainstream media says, most Americans, when they feel the pain, when they feel the economic pain, okay, they choose to pull out, where they don't believe in the whole the ends justify the means narrative any longer. And that's why it's really funny when Pete Hegseth goes in front of Congress and says, "Oh, do you want Iran to have a nuke? Do you want Iran to have a nuke? A cost that the American public is paying right now for this war is marginal in comparison to Iran having a nuke. We're stopping them from having a nuke." That's a terrible argument, because it seems a lot of Americans are saying, no, I don't care what Iran does. Either they're saying, I don't believe you. I don't think that Iran is going to get a nuke. Okay? Or they're saying, even if they were, who cares? Let's just pull out. Fix the gas prices, please.
A talk bonus.
Yeah, it turns out, contrary to Trump's assessment, maybe Americans are tired of winning. Maybe they are saying, please, sir, no more winning. We don't want to win any longer.
Immigration, of course, such an important part of the Donald Trump message back in 2024, 2020, 2016. The GOP lead on immigration for all of the actions that have occurred over the last year and change of the Trump administration. Look at this. Back in February of 2023, before Trump got into office, Republicans held a 10-point lead on which party was more trusted in immigration. Last year in July, it was 6 points. Now, get this, it's 8 points. It's 8 points according to Fox News. There's simply been no real movement here. Republicans are holding on a key issue for them. And therefore, it should not be much of a surprise that Donald Trump is very much holding on when it comes to border security. Look at this. Trump's approval rating on border security, approve of Trump on border security. A little bit over a year ago, he was at 56%. Look at where he is now. He's at 53%. Still the clear majority of Americans approve.
This is Cope, by the way. You trusted me thus far. Trust me on this too. This is Cope. This is an act of desperation from people that voted for Trump, that have tremendous sunk costs, that want to lean into anything that they find to be redeemable. And when people say, why are they trusting Fox News polls? Fox News polls are rated very, very highly. They're not. It has nothing to do with the editorial side of Fox. Fox News polls are good.
For the job that Donald Trump is doing when it comes to border security. So we've ranked the list. We've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I love Ohio. We'll never let you down. I swear, I promise.
4 days.
They're all heading off to vote.
Yeah. 900 miles.
There you go. That's much better.
Red Sox might need a backup catcher.
And one giant question. Is Donald Trump's MAGA coalition cracking? Entering Ohio, the Mahoning Valley. Gritty, blue-collar, union, reliably Democratic for decades. No more.
People like this, places like this, are part of how Trump has changed America. Ohio changed from a competitive purple state to a Trump red state because of the mad.
Damn, they're busting out John King, dude. Uh-oh. That's the big guns. They're not sending Doney out on these missions now. When you got John up in there, that's how you know things are starting to get serious. This is midterm season, baby. Time to hit up some diners all around the country, okay?
Of his coalition here. But as we head into the midterms, the jobs he promised are not here.
Sir John King has hit Ohio, the state of Ohio. The beautiful state of Ohio has had one John King impact.
The revival in American manufacturing he promised is not here.
Chris Anderson is the Mahoning County Democratic chairman. His midterm bet? Enough Trump voters will be part of electing Ohio's first Democratic governor in 15 years, and part of flipping a critical Senate seat from red to blue.
They got conned by a con man.
You're the Democrat, so you're supposed to say that. What do you see that tells you that things are different?
Well, I mean, drive around Mahoning County. For 8 years, there were Trump signs on every corner. There were flags. You couldn't go to a grocery store without seeing those red MAGA hats. I'd challenge you to find one.
It's true, these are hard to find now. Maybe a clue, but hardly enough to answer the is MAGA cracking question. This is Local 1112 United Auto Workers, Lordstown, Ohio. Ground zero in the local debate about trusting Trump. General Motors made cars here for 5 decades, thousands of good union jobs. But the Lordstown plant closed in 2019, despite a first-term Trump promise it would stay open. Foxconn built this new factory on the GM site, but its workforce is non-union, and the factory is mostly idle now as the company decides what's next. Nearby, another new factory sold as Lordstown's new hope. Altium Cells, a joint EV battery venture between General Motors and South Korea's LG Electronics.
How many guys are working in that factory now?
Right now, all of production is shut down. 1,460 of us, I think there were. We're all laid off in January 5th, officially.
And you don't know until when?
Don't know till when.
Bob Swager leads the campaign committee at Local 1112. Everyone here remembers when Trump told them not to sell their homes, and later when he said new jobs would replace the GM jobs. The union endorsed Kamala Harris, but a big chunk of its voters voted Trump. And then the UAW endorsed Trump's tariffs.
They were hopeful that they were going to bring more jobs back to the United States.
Has that happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
Manufacturing employment is up a bit of late, but down 80,000 jobs overall since Trump returned to the White House. American auto manufacturing down 25,000 jobs in Trump's second term.
Do you believe in 2026 the Democrats can actually win statewide for the Senate and win statewide for governor in Ohio?
Yes.
Mark Skinesny served overseas in Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan.
Also, speaking of layoffs, apparently the Daily Wire laid off half of his staff today. It comes as Ben Shapiro and other MAGA influencers have seen huge loss in engagement and audience retention. Who must go? Hasan must go? Who must go? Ben Shapiro must go. What happened, Ben? No motion, no lotion? Sheesh. And they demonize you when you want more aggressive industrial policies, lol. I mean, yeah. Tanning with my dick out in my backyard with HasanAbi in my ears, says Salted Pepper Piker. Jesus Christ. With oil prices at an all-time high, you'd expect Daily Wire to be fully funded. True. What happened? The Wilkes brothers need to be coming in, and yet they are not coming in clutch at all. What's good? Look who it is. Look who it is. Hold on. Let me open up the noise gate real quick. Hello. What? I'm a suit guy. I'm a suit guy now. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, sucks to suck. Here, noise gate is off now. So
Hi, hello. I just almost got recruited by Mormons this morning.
nice.
Yep. So I guess
Caroline Kwan in the building.
2 Mormons in the
Hi.
group. Hi. How are you?
Yeah, Marty's here as well. Did you
Do I get a hug?
Did you charge?
Yeah, I did. Okay, good. I'm the
see
where's
the
my hug
arch?
guy.
I did.
That's what we have in St. Louis here.
I did. I saw the arch.
Do you want to know some facts
What? Well, facts about St. Louis?
about the arch? March,
Okay.
what did I teach you? Come on.
It's the
Give 'em one.
tallest arch in the Western Hemisphere.
Nope, in the world.
In the world, sorry.
But tallest
Oh,
monument
in the
Western
And it's a
Hemisphere. How many feet?
630.
Yep.
And it's a monument dedicated to westward expansion, aka the genocide of my people.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, so there you go. That's,
Wow.
that's the St. Louis Arch.
That's it, everybody. We're gonna get ready right now. I'm gonna continue with the commentary coverage, but we're gonna get ready to now go.
We have
and
you have 15.
I have 15 more minutes. You want to pull up that chair,
Yeah.
and then we can. Yeah. Oh, that's a chocolate.
That's what that is.
That's crazy.
I use it as a handle.
You didn't realize
Wait, you.
that's
Oh my God! It is
that's a
literally.
chocolate arch.
I didn't realize it.
They gifted me a chocolate arch. I didn't even realize that this was. Change out of the suit? No, I think the suit's fire, right?
Yeah, it looks good.
I mean, I think it's like a little too professional. Okay, you got to come closer.
God, this is tiny.
What do you mean? What? It gets the job done.
It does.
It's not the size. Here, you can put the chocolate arch back.
I'm
over
actually
there.
impressed by the chocolate arch.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Gooey butter cake, bro. Eat that. Yeah, maybe later.
It's a lemon bar.
Yeah.
All right, what's going on? What's happening?
A man sitting
What's the
behind me.
411? Oh my God.
What is this?
I
A
was on
man,
the
a
phone
man
with
sitting behind me
Austin.
on my American flight punched and kicked my chair, threatened me. You're gonna have a real problem with me, and called me a slur. American Air would love to know if there's anything aside from filing out an online complaint that can be done here. Flight attendant said, fill out online form, and then help desk at the destination airport just shrugged me and told me to go online.
Let me tell you. So right after I get a call from American, Austin sends me a text and goes, "Did American call you?" I'm like, "Did you have something to do with this?"
What did he?
It was a coincidence.
Oh.
And I talked to him for 45 minutes this morning as he was advising me.
Great. Austin's like, yeah, time
he
for White
was
Hat Karen.
So excited. This is his. Everyone knows
Bread and
this
butter.
is his thing. It's
Yeah.
his bread and butter.
Tell him about the gift. Tell him about the gift.
Tell him about
The gift. The picture.
Oh, yes. Austin said, "Is it okay with you if I include?" A lot of people have tagged me. This is what he said. He's like, "I woke up this morning to so many tags because of your tweet. Is it okay if I include this photo here?" And he just links this Superman picture. He's like, "I would like to comment that, but if that's not okay with you, if you're traumatized." I was like, "You know what, babe? Go ahead. Post the Superman photo."
Did he?
I don't know if he did.
No, he
But
didn't.
there
are a lot of people tagging him. He was born for this. In all seriousness, though, fuck that guy. No one deserves that treatment. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. That was super fun.
Hold the mic closer. Shut up, chat. This is as close as it's going to get here. I'll crack up the gain a little bit so you guys can actually hear us a little bit better. Okay? That's it. That's what you get.
My favorite thing is when you post something like this and then people online just manufacture a totally different version and go, this is what happened. They're like, oh yeah, I'm sure she just yelled at some old man because that's what she does. I'm like, well, if it calls for it, yes.
You can take it. I'm swapping the camera.
I'm so excited to meet Cori Bush. Wait, there's another funny part of the story where one person who did end up helping me, I start talking to her because she's walking with me for safety reasons.
Uh-huh.
She's like, well, what are you doing here? And I was like,
I got that question as well.
Well, I go, I went to college in St. Louis, and some friends of mine are here to help with Cori Bush's reelection. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a trip out of it, see my friends, help out with the rally. And she goes quiet, this woman who'd been my savior. I was like, did I say something wrong? And she goes, oh, I'm really good friends with Wesley Bell.
Oh!
And I just go, so then I feel awkward. And under normal circumstances, I'd be like, that guy fucking sucks. But I just go, well, they're both great.
You said that?
Because this was the only person who had helped me.
You should have been like, that's an Apex dude.
I know. I said under other circumstances, and we're like, that guy fucking sucks. But I was like, wow, man, I wish in California we had the issue of too many great candidates.
Like Wesley Bell.
Like you do here in St. Louis. I could not believe that I ended up talking to a person who was good friends with him. And the one person who was like,
you folded.
had my back. I did.
Are you?
Did.
So you went to college here.
I did.
Everyone has been talking about how dangerous St. Louis is and how terrible it is. Including but not limited to people that are born and raised here that I met at the airport who were like, are you that guy? Are you the political commentator guy? And I was like, yeah. And she literally was like, why are you here?
Because the art.
And I was like, oh, I'm doing this thing for May Day. She's like, when is that? Like next week? I was like, no, May Day, like today, with Cori Bush. And I was like, why do you think it's weird that I'm here? And she goes, famous people don't come to St. Louis. She straight up said,
famous people are created in St. Louis. Wait, she said famous people don't come to St. Louis.
Yeah, she said people don't come here, and apparently that's a thing. Like,
no, it is.
People like avoid St. Louis.
Wait,
apparently.
You know who's a SLU grad?
Who?
James Gunn.
Wow.
Aside from me, James Gunn.
James the Gun don't jam.
Which I
That's
didn't even know.
That's why he's based in Woke.
But it's funny you say that.
You don't know because he hides it. Because apparently, if you're in any way, shape, or form connected to St. Louis, you just never. I didn't know you were a fucking St. Louis grad.
I'm a proud SLU grad.
I did not know that, and I've known you for a decade.
Well, did you know that there were posters of me all over?
I did know that because you showed me.
And all over Madrid as well. I went international.
Because you showed me, I know.
Yes, well, I'm telling you
That was the first thing you showed me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so the funny thing is that nobody ever came to SLU except for Aaron Carter. Yikes.
What the fuck?
He came because, well, now he's dead, so rest in peace. But he was trying to sell tickets, and he went to all the sororities and was like, whoever buys the most tickets, I'll do a private concert for. Nobody bought tickets. It was really sad.
That's crazy.
And
so even St. Louis, we don't get a lot of celebrities,
but
we still have standards.
And then one time, my friends and I got in trouble because in 2011, we decided to start this rumor that Julia Stiles was coming to SLU.
Uh-huh.
You know who that is, right?
No. Who is that? Hannah asked me, my assistant asked me, Hasan, are you going to change outfits? He's not. He's a suit guy now.
I said that.
And then that's what Mart said. She said, at least he's not wearing the Tucker Carlson tie today.
Look up Julia Stiles. You know who she is. You know who she is. 10 things I hate about you, the prince and me.
5-minute warning.
Come on. It's Julia Stiles. He doesn't know who Julia Stiles is.
Oh, I've
You
seen
know
this
who
person.
yes.
Yeah, I've
She was
seen.
huge in the 90s and
Yeah,
2000s.
yeah. I've seen this person before.
Yeah, so we decided to start a rumor that she was coming to SLU, and this is when Twitter kind of started to be, it was in its infancy. So my friends and I got Twitter accounts and started a hashtag Julia Stiles is coming to SLU, and then we just kept tweeting about how excited we were and that we saw her mom, and I don't know. And
What
then the
the
student
fuck?
council found out, and they reached out to us, and they were like, you guys have to stop. You just stop spreading these rumors because people now
You're putting STL
I was
on the
early
map.
to spreading misinformation online.
Okay, I like that.
It was me.
Speaking of which, I posted, a very clear bait post, and apparently it got, it turned into its own Know Your Meme page. Hasan Piker reading Lenin is a series of 2 photographs of leftist political streamer Hasan Piker holding What Is to Be Done by Vladimir Lenin while riding on a train, reading the book in the first photo and staring out the window in the second. The images were uploaded by Piker to his Twitter account April 30th.
Wait.
It turned into people got so mad.
A day ago?
Yeah, it happened yesterday.
God, they're so fast with the memes.
Yeah. This one was a pro-Israel account. Lenin in one hand, Cartier on the other. Which, by the way, it's not even Cartier.
Isn't that Chrome?
Yeah. But Hasan Piker shock collar, controversy collargate, make the rich pay, progressive mind in a MAGA body. Oh my God.
Wait, let's see the.
No, I don't even want to fucking see any of this shit.
I just saw the one that was in the second row.
Which one? Oh, Tectone, Rape Tone?
Hasan Piker versus Tectone feud.
Yeah, that's not a real win. What was that? Was that actually a controversy? The Cartier post got 80,000 likes.
For him.
Yeah. But this one was funny. Imagine loving trains because your parents never allowed you to be independent. You're a true Nepo baby. I don't even understand what this means.
Wait, okay. Imagine loving trains because your parents never allowed you to be independent.
I don't even know what they're fucking talking about.
You are a true Nepo. It makes sense to me.
Okay.
If it's one of those, if you know, you know.
Yeah. This guy's going to lose his mind if I don't watch Barack Obama not having a consistent position on Israel committing a genocide. Like, he's literally like, please look at this video. Please, before you leave. All right, we can't look at it. We need to leave. Themasius, on this playlist, can you add in the Ebro Laura Rosenberg post as well? Like, if you haven't, I don't know if Themasius is in here right now, but
You gonna eat this?
no, you can have it.
The lemon bar?
Yeah, eat it.
Oh, really good.
Yeah, you're eating it.
I
All
already
right.
ate one of Marshall's.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. I'm fine with that.
You didn't tell me?
All right. Anyway, we're gonna play it.
Afghanistan
We're gonna
was
play
drawn to the
this.
Tea Party and then Trump after leaving the army.
I let myself,
And then we're gonna
I don't want to say get radicalized.
We're gonna go link up with Corey. We're gonna interview Corey. I'm gonna interview Corey Bush, and then afterwards, I'm gonna speak at a rally, a May Day rally. See some of you there. Okay, I know it's loud. Sorry, hold on. I'm fixing the noise gate real quick so that it's fine. Sound of the video is awful. Stop. It's fine. I fixed it.
Anything, but I was very right wing.
Skenesny had a change of heart in 2020, calls himself an independent, and is backing Democrats this year because he now views Trump and MAGA as dangerous to democracy.
I've talked to a lot of people whose views are changing, even in my own family. So I am hopeful that that is starting to fracture.
Yet Skenesny concedes many Trump supporter friends will not budge.
And it's a lot harder than I thought.
Most of Ohio is rural, and rural America is Trump country. But rural also means you drive a lot. High gas prices hurt. Farms dot the rolling hills of Albany in southeast Ohio. This one is unique.
The chickens are your supervisors?
Yeah.
400 or so sheep on 100 grassy acres. Lambing season. These sheep are pregnant. 200 to 250 more little lambs due any day now.
Up, stay, Tilly, stay.
Bill Krusling doesn't need much diesel or any fertilizer, so he's shielded from the Iran war cost spikes hitting many other farmers. He does okay, but is saddled by huge medical debts. His biggest complaints about Washington are corruption and deficit spending.
Trump promised to change the healthcare system, and he hasn't. He promised to reduce the debt, and he hasn't.
Well, it takes time. he had 4 years, but he was new to Washington. I don't blame Trump. I blame the Congress.
Where am I riding?
Right here.
I'm going to take the dog seat?
Yeah, she's coming no matter what.
Krusling says no politician understands this life, and he's mad at both parties for not solving problems. But he will vote Republican in November because he's conservative and because he loves Trump, for the very reason so many people can't stand Trump.
He seems to like the fights.
Oh, he loves a fight. Oh. He loves a fight, and that's great. So I voted for him. This world's got way too many pearl clutchers. It's like, come on, people, give me a break.
Back on the road, heading south, Portsmouth is in Scioto County, along the Ohio River across from Kentucky. Trump won 74% here last time. Del King was already wavering on Trump. The Iran war, the last straw. King opened his Portsmouth gym 16 years ago after returning home from 2 tours in Iraq.
It's crazy because that's like it's 20 years ago.
His office is full of military mementos, and showing it to a visitor stirs emotion.
Like, it's weird. I don't know. 20 years, and then we're dealing with Iran. So it's like, what the is? It's just it's a unique timing thing. Guys are trying to navigate their own healing journey, and now it's like, okay, it's scratching that scab again.
Right. King voted for Trump in 2016, again in 2024, but he's voting for Democrats in 2026 because he believes the country needs to send Trump a midterm message.
I am pro-military, and we have a strong need to protect this country. I know there are threats, and I know there are enemies that want to see the downfall of this country. But you can't be flippant about war. You cannot.
Conversations with friends here and fellow veterans across the country convince him big change is coming.
The shine's kind of coming off the Trump presidency. Really kind of see through the true core of who he is versus what he campaigned on.
John, what other issues besides the war do Democrats think could help them in Ohio?
Anderson, as you saw at the top of the piece, and here's the map from 2024. Look, Donald Trump won 81 of 88 counties, 81 of 88 in Ohio. So be skeptical about the Democratic chances. But the war in Iran may be taking some people like Dale King away. The manufacturing jobs the president promised, there are some, but there's no big renaissance like he promised. But you see the 81 of 88. This is the map Democrats think gives them hope, Anderson. Half of the counties in Ohio, more than half of them, your costs, the cost of your energy, the cost of your housing, the cost of your groceries are running ahead of your wages. So of the 88 counties, more than half. That's what the Democrats think, not just in Ohio, but across the country. But the fact that this state is in play after 10 years of being out of play, just that in and of itself tells you this is a very different midterm year.
A coalition of activists called on St. Louis to shut it all down tomorrow. No work, no school, no shopping. Former Congresswoman Cori Bush showed up to lend her name to this cause, then left before reporters could ask her a single question. The coalition's demands are specific. Kill the Armory data center permit, move Rams settlement money to North City, keep St. Louis police away from federal immigration enforcement, and slash the police budget. At the national level, invoke the 25th Amendment and remove the president. 5 on Your Side's political editor Mark Maxwell questioned them about the strike.
What good is a strike that comes with an expiration date? Is it really a strike, or is it like a symbolic pause?
So there's always a little bit of symbol. However, even if the strikes are small, people are realizing that we can actually come together as workers and shut it down.
Tomorrow, Congresswoman Bush is scheduled to appear alongside Hassan Piker, a controversial influencer who has publicly cheered Hamas and called America a, quote, malignant force. She did not take questions today.